What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Mitch and I'm going to make a video about some stuff. Now, if you've seen the thumbnail, you know we're talking about the Timemore Sculptor. Now, the issue at hand isn't necessarily the grinder itself. If you've purchased one, I don't want you to have buyer's remorse. This is not telling you you shouldn't have bought one. What I'm telling you is the one I got is junk. So let's rewind a few months, and I did make a video about the Timemore Sculptor. I'd received it and I put it through its paces, put a few kilos through it, and it was making really good coffee, with the assumption that it was going to get better with time, because there were a lot of people out there that had explained that it could take up to 7 kilos before this thing would build some consistency, the birds being seasoned, and then it will start making really good coffee. Unfortunately, this has not been the case. Since making that video, I have not had a perfect coffee from this grinder. I've tried everything and it has been impossible to make a back-to-back coffee with any kind of resemblance to quality or flavor or the time. Just nothing was right. Everything was wrong. It was making some bad noises, and it's been a really bad experience overall. Now, before I get stuck into the actual issues with this grinder, I do want to talk about some of the bigger issues at hand here that aren't necessarily involved in this exact product. So if you were like me, you're one of thousands of people all over the world that got on the Kickstarter for this product because it was the biggest hyped up product I've ever seen on Kickstarter. Now, I think the scariest thing that I've learned is that here in Australia, if you purchase a product from overseas and you import it, you might be the one that is liable for any problems you have. Now, I'm not talking about warranty, I mean insurance. Because if this product that I imported was to have an issue with the electronics and catch on fire and burn down my house, insurance might not cover that. So just keep that in mind, and if you want to maybe save $50 here or there, is it really going to be worth it when your home is no longer insured? Now, of course, this is worst case scenario, and it's up to you guys what you do with this information. I'm just giving you my feedback on that part of the subject. But now let's get on to the part that you guys are actually wanting to hear about, is how much I dislike this grinder. Now, I just want to jump in here and let you guys know, if you would like to support the channel, you can do that by clicking on the website below and go and check out the website. You can buy merch. This shirt's no longer available, but there's a brand new shirt and hoodie combo with a logo that I just uploaded last night, and that will help the channel massively. The other way is you can click on the other link below and it will take you to the members program, where you can support the channel from $1.49 a month, and you get access to a whole bunch of silly stuff that we get up to behind the scenes. All right, so this is the grinder. If you haven't seen one, now you have. Surely you've seen one. These things were all over the internet. That's why I bought one. This was huge. It was the biggest thing I've ever seen on Kickstarter. The internet exploded and I waited about 12 months for it, give or take, for those people that do the math on how many days it took in the last video. Anyway, moving forward. So this is the Timemore Sculptor 078S, which is the espresso version with 78mm burrs in white, if we need to be specific. And I really do want to stress here, before we get stuck into this, that I do not want anyone to have buyer's remorse if they did buy one of these. I have friends with the same grinder and they're experiencing okay coffee. They have mentioned a couple of the little issues that I've had with it as well, but let's keep in mind, this is not a $4,000 or $5,000 grinder. This is a home purpose grinder, and I paid about $700 for it. So if you were trying to find something in comparison around that same price, on paper it doesn't really exist. 78mm burrs, flat, it does have some really good features, variable RPM, but we're gonna get stuck into some of the things that are an issue with it. But like I said, if you did buy one of these, it's perfectly fine, especially if yours is making good coffee. I have not experienced that. Okay, so problem number 1. This is the messiest grinder I've ever used in my life. Coffee ends up everywhere, especially if you're trying to do cold brew, which I do every week. I will do 3 or 4 liters of cold brew. Now, I don't grind it all at once, so that's not the issue. It's just a very messy grinder. It has a lot of static, and some of the other grinders, even half of this price, did not experience the mess all over the brew bar that I did with this. Now I know a lot of people are going to say, well, do RDT, which if you're not familiar with that, it's a little water spritz. We're not going to get stuck into the reasons, but it will help with static electricity. Now, yes, typically I would do that, but problem number 2 with this grinder is the reason I can't. So in the top of this grinder, the hopper, you'd hardly call it a hopper, it's just a bean feeder, and the angle on which you would feed the beans in isn't steep enough to slide down. It will do it if they're dry, but if they're wet, not a chance. So the issue is the hopper itself, and I know there's companies out there, including my 3D printer guy, that does actually make an adapter for this to give you the tall hopper, but I'm telling you the issue is with it as it comes out of the box. Now, issue number 3, which is kind of a side effect of issue number 2, is without being able to do RDT, the retention on this thing is astronomical. If I put in 20 grams of coffee, there is not a chance I'm getting 20 grams out. It just will not happen. It does have the little collar down the bottom, but that's designed to keep the fines that you don't want, or the bits and pieces of the coffee that you don't really want to go in the cup. And it seems to produce a lot of things that doesn't want to go in the cup. Now, issue number 4 is a little bit of a trivial one, but I'm certainly not a fan. The dosing cup, it looks nice and it is self-aligning with the magnet, which is kind of cool, but it doesn't really work. So I've got you guys a portafilter with a basket and 3 different dosing cups here. Now, other than the size, there's a fairly obvious difference between the 3. That guy has a ring around the edge. That guy has a ring around the edge. Does not have a ring around the edge. And that is an issue that I'm going to demonstrate. When you grind coffee into a dosing cup, which you should, onto there, pop it on, spin it around, coffee stays there. Ready to do your thing, puck prep as they keep calling it. That, same thing. Now this one doesn't do that. Because it doesn't have a ring, it has to either go all the way into the bottom, causing issues because it leaves a ring where that was, or you have to hold it up to the top and burn your hands off. Now, I have barista hands and it's still hot. It's not a comfortable thing to do, and it's easily solved by just putting a ring on the dosing cup. So the next issue isn't actually a major issue, it's just more of a workflow issue. Now, everyone's worked on one of these little adapters here, little magnetic thing. This is one of my own branded ones, for an indicator to tell you what number you're at. Otherwise, you're trying to line it up with the line, it's side of the grinder. It's just a little bit clumsy, and just kind of, I don't understand why they didn't think of it. But honestly, my biggest issue with this grinder was the position of one button. Now, the reason I bought this grinder, and it's the first one of its kind that I've ever owned, is a grinder with variable RPM. So what that means is on the back of the grinder, you can turn the dial to adjust the RPM from minimum to maximum. Now, the fact that it's on the back just doesn't make sense to me. Firstly, you can't see what RPM it's set at without spinning the grinder around or looking at the back of it, which is going to make it very difficult to replicate coffees, because RPM does affect dramatically the taste of your coffee. Which leads me to the issues that I have experienced with this grinder that definitely weren't advertised. So like I said, variable RPM really does affect your flavor and consistency of the coffee quite a bit. If you've got it set on an RPM all the time, that's great. I would recommend just running this at the maximum RPM if you've got one, otherwise you're just going to be chasing coffees all day. So as I said, variable RPM does affect your coffee quite a bit. This video isn't about that, but the issue I'm finding is while grinding coffee with this, I can hear that the motor is not running at a consistent RPM. It stutters and bumps, and I don't know what is wrong with this thing. I'll see if I can capture it on camera, and hopefully you can hear the issue I'm experiencing, but it is not good and it makes it impossible to make a consistent coffee. Now, consistency is a word you will hear on most coffee channels because it is very important to have consistency. So when you have variables that are either out of your control or you're not paying attention to these variables, it makes it very difficult to make a consistent coffee. So much so that I have never been able to make 2 identical coffees back to back with this grinder, which is pretty sad because that's why I bought it, to grind coffee well, and it doesn't. Sorry. Now in the original video, I did give this grinder a pretty good rap, and I think I might have pulled the trigger on that video a bit too soon, but I was just trying to get it out there with my opinion on a few things before people bought them, because I did say it's not perfect, with the variable RPM button being on the back and a couple of little things that I wasn't super happy with. So I had to rush it a little bit in a sense, and I wish I didn't do that, because from my experience I've been told that a couple of people have purchased this based on what I said. For that, I do apologize, because if you're experiencing the same issues that I am, I really am sorry. I don't want that to be the way. I bought this product with my own money. I wasn't paid by anyone to do a positive review on it, and I'm still not. It's very rare someone gives me a product for free to do a review on, and if they do, I still give you the honest answer. So please take that into account when watching my videos and other people's videos, because I know not everyone is that honest about their products. So the biggest takeaway from this video is probably the fact that I wish I'd just bought it from an Australian retailer, somewhere like Coffee Parts, where if I had an issue with the product, he would have been able to help me. But seeing as though I didn't buy it from him, there's not much he can really do, and he did actually send me the details to contact the guys at Timemore, and they weren't very helpful. So now I've got a grinder that's completely useless, and I wish I'd have just spent a little bit more and got one from a local retailer. And speaking of product reviews, you may be paying attention and spotted something in the background. This is the DF83V. Now Frank from Coffee Tech has given me this grinder to do a full review. Now whether I love it or hate it, I'm going to tell you the truth. So sit tight for that, make sure you click that subscribe button, and in the next video I'm going to give you a deep dive into this grinder. But that's it for now guys. Click on the link below, check out the website, the new merch. Make sure you give this video a like, and if you haven't hit that subscribe button already, that'd be fantastic. And that way you can check out next week's video where hopefully I'm making much better coffee. Bye. Check, check, microphone check. Hopefully this camera works better than the grinder. All right, hello. If you buy a product